You're tuned in to WODU, the best in college radio. I'm Alex, and this is Cup Check, best sports radio show in the world. A lot to talk about today. Said I'd cover college basketball a little bit more in depth since it starts tomorrow. Team is a lot of people think going undefeated. I'll give you my take on that. Then there's NBA. Not just on the court, some off the court problems for the NBA. How one little thing changes what goes on off the court. Also, LeBron doesn't let his kids do one thing. What is that? I'll let you know. And there's one team that has not lost, is actually the only team to win in Mexico. It's one team in the NBA. I'll let you know who that team is. Talk about maybe who the best team in the NBA is right now. You got college football. The last time we talked, they didn't release the playoffs yet. Who all is in the playoffs? If it ended today, I'll let you know who I think, where they made mistakes, where they were right, all that. Quarterback the Eagles are trying to go after. He may go high in the draft, so it'd be interesting to see what they give up for him. Let you know who that is. And then, of course, you got to talk about all the games going on this weekend. And then into with NFL. I'll tell you which quarterbacks are elite. Not all of them. There's not that many of them. Looking at the starting quarterbacks, 32 teams. Probably 5 elite quarterbacks. Then you got my pick'ems. Who do I got winning it? I did well last week. Only lost 3. So I'll let you know who I got this week. Winning them all. Going 100% this week. And then, if we got time, power rankings. Let you know who's the worst, who's the best. All that and more on Cup Check. So, jump right in with college basketball. So it's not started yet. It's gonna start soon though. Friday. ODU plays on Saturday, 7 o'clock. You should go out and watch them if you can. College basketball, one of the best sports there is. I mean, it's hard to debate. Even if you don't like basketball or sports in general, everybody knows March Madness. Everybody fills out a bracket and they throw $5 in their pool at work and all that jazz. Well, they came out, dude for ESPN came out and gave you a bracket of who's going to be where. It's an interesting bracket. I mean, he took all the top 4 teams right now and put them ones. Well, pretty easy. 2s, he took most of the top ranked teams. He put Syracuse pretty far down there. That was the one I noticed that it was a little interesting. Syracuse is in the top 25 right now, but he put him 7th. 1s, he had Kentucky, Arizona, Duke, Wisconsin, Kansas, 2, Wichita State, North Carolina, Florida, all around 2. CUSA, he's got, I believe it was Louisiana State. Go back and find them. I forgot where they. Louisiana Tech. He had Tech winning. Yeah, I'm a 12 seed. Not bad, but actually I think it was Louisiana. Not bad, especially for a CUSA team. But I'm not sold on Louisiana Tech. They did well last year. I think they actually made it last year. I could be wrong on that, but I'm almost positive they were the ones to come out of the bracket last year or go into the bracket last year for CUSA. But I think Old Dominion's got a shot. Old Dominion, looking at their roster, looking at the schedule, looking at who they got back, they only lost Batten, and that's pretty much it. Larson, they lost. Larson didn't play a whole lot though, so didn't lose anything there in much regards. But they lost Batten. Batten was pretty good, but he went on to Boston College. They didn't lose anybody else, so they only got better. They only got more experience under their belt now. Still some young guys. Ross, probably one of the best players on the team, if not the best player on the team. He's at least the most athletic on the team, the way he plays. I've mentioned that multiple times. But Old Dominion's got a shot to win CUSA. I'm not saying they will, and if they don't win CUSA, I don't see them in the tournament. it's going to be hard for them to make it in the tournament, especially since this guy Joe, he's got the CUSA team 12th winning their conference. So it'd be very difficult for if Old Dominion did not win the CUSA for them to make it in the tournament. But I think with a team that was young last year, did okay. I think they went 16-16. To do 16-16, and now they're going to come out with pretty much the same team, and they're just going to improve. They're 1 year better, 1 year smarter, year further into the CUSA, learning to play all the competition and everything. And the only team they play that's ranked this year, as of right now, is VCU. And VCU, I believe, is 13th, 15th. VCU is 15th. They play them early as well. They play them the 29th at home. That helps. But you look at Old Dominion. They went 18-18 last year. Southern Miss was the one out of the CUSA last year at 29-7. Louisiana Tech was 29-8. I believe they also made the tournament as well, though. Looking at it though, Old Dominion's got a shot. I mean, Old Dominion has a chance at making it to the big dance. Louisiana State, or Louisiana Tech, I don't know why I call them State, but Louisiana Tech did not make it last year. It was Southern Miss that made it last year for the CUSA, and they lost to Kansas State in the first round by 6. But Old Dominion's still young. They're getting better. They're going to get better throughout the season. They should beat UNC Wilmington. Richmond, they should probably beat Richmond. LSU is not great. Then it's number 15 VCU. I'm not saying they're going undefeated or whatever, but Southern Miss went 29-7 and got it last year. Louisiana Tech went 29-8. I can see something like they played 36 games. I could see like a 25-11 season. If they played 36 games, I could see Old Dominion going 25-11. They have the young squad. I keep mentioning that, but they are young. They're all back except for Batten. That put in a whole lot of time. I mean, Batten was the second in points, but he shot 37% from the field. And free throws, Old Dominion was awful. He only shot 27% from the three-point line. Bacote's really been the scorer for them. There's a shot. I think Ross is going to get better. I mean, I feel like Ross is really... He only averaged 9 points a game last year. I definitely see that climbing substantially. I mean, he'll probably be up there with the 15 points. I think Old Dominion has a shot this year at the tournament. I don't think it's a stretch. Usually it's kind of a stretch to go, oh, yeah, it's going to be a stretch. I think Old Dominion's got a shot at it. We'll have to see throughout the season, see how they do, see how they play. Injuries and everything also play large part in it. But I think Old Dominion can finish like 25-11. If that's good enough to win the CUSA, then they win it. If not, they don't. 25-11, though. I think that's what they'll finish. Speaking of teams finishing well and winning their conference, Kentucky, not CUSA, SEC, way off there. They're expected to win that pretty handily. And I don't think there's anybody that can dispute that. But, and Florida did very well last year coming out as SEC. It's the only other team that could give them fits. And they got to play Florida twice. They got to play them one at home, one on the way. But, there's talk. There's a lot of talk. Kentucky should sweep. Kentucky should go undefeated this season. I get that they had a very, very, very good draft class. Or not draft class, recruiting class, like usual. But to go undefeated in a almost impossible it's almost an impossible feat to go undefeated through an entire NBA season or NCAA season. I mean, Wichita State came close. They couldn't do it. Did a regular season. Couldn't do it on the road. Or couldn't do it in the tournament. It's going to be difficult to go. They can't go undefeated. They're young. They're too young. They're all freshmen. I mean, if you're a returning player in Kentucky, that means you don't play. That's pretty much what it comes down to. They're all young. They're all got to figure out this whole thing. Yeah, they beat some no-name team by almost 100 points. But there's no shot they go undefeated. Especially that third game of the season, they got to play Kentucky at a neutral location. Then they got to play Texas, UNC, Louisville, Florida twice. That's just ranked teams right now. I mean, looking at the rest of their schedule, I don't see a lot of those teams moving ranked. Tennessee sometimes. Other than that, UCLA is always there. Missouri can always put up a fight here and there. But they play too many ranked teams, and they play one in Kentucky or in Kansas that's fifth in the nation right now. They play them too early. They play them too early in the season, and it's not at home. If it was at home, it'd be a different story. But I think Kansas is a team that got some players back. I mean, they got Perry Ellis back, junior forward. Yeah, he got injured last year. That's why he didn't leave for the most part. Yeah, okay, they lost Wiggins and Embiid, but they're still going to be a good team. They're still going to be a very, very good team. And I think that they have some experience, whereas Kentucky does not. And I think that hurts Kentucky. Although I think the best player in college basketball is on Kentucky's roster. Let me find his name here. I believe he's a. I'll find him for you in a minute. But Tyler Ulis, Ulis. He's a guard, freshman guard. He's only 5'9". He's really small. He's from Ohio, LeBron. He's 18. I mean, he's small, yeah, but he's a point guard, not like other point guards. He's a point guard that can actually shoot the ball. There's a lot of point guards now that can't shoot the ball. I mean, Westbrook can shoot, but he shoots in bunches. He really relies on taking 100 shots to make 10. You look at Chris Paul can shoot usually. I mean, sometimes he'll have on fire games and everything from 3 and all that. You also look, and then you see like Rondo. Rondo's jump shot really isn't there. John Wall doesn't really have a jump shot. So he has something. His vision is superb. His vision is one of the best in the league. Looking at the games they have played, and the drill they played versus one another when they had their whole own recruiting class thing, whatever that was. But he looked good in that, and he could shoot. His 3-point shot was dirty, especially when they went overseas and they played a few teams. That man can play. 5'9" small, but that man can play. And I think he's the best college basketball player there is right now, which is a lot because he's a freshman. I know he probably won't even start. I mean, he may not even start, but I'm telling you, watch out for Tyler Ulis, U-L-I-S. Don't know if that's how you say it, but I'm gonna go with it. Watch out for that man, because that man's gonna be probably one of the best, if not the best, college basketball players, and maybe going high in the draft. when it becomes draft time. You only got to stay 1 year. But Kentucky going undefeated is almost 0% chance. I mean, it's very, very, very unlikely. Because they can get beat last game of the season versus Florida, depending on how Florida turns out. But it starts tomorrow. College basketball. Ought to be fun. Tune in, watch all of those. ESPN, I'm sure, is doing a whole thing on it. But till then, move on to the NBA. The big boys, the ones that get paid. So I mentioned Blake Griffin, but I'll get back to him in a second. Start with LeBron. Told you LeBron doesn't let his kids do something. It's kind of surprising. LeBron does not let his kids play football on a team. Probably play flag football. He thinks it's too dangerous. Doesn't think he lets them play everything but football and hockey. Those are two physical sports. He said safety, it's a safety thing. He continued, said as a parent, you protect your kids as much as possible. I don't think I'm the only one that's not allowing his kids to play football. I'm just LeBron James, and it gets put in headlines for no reason. I mean, if they're built like him in their career, I mean, right now they're pretty young. But if they're built like him, they should probably be playing some football. Yeah, I understand the dangerous kind of aspects that come along with the game of football and how someone can get hurt or this can happen or that can happen or whatever. But I mean, LeBron talks about playing football all the time. He's like, I could go be a tight end for the Cowboys if I wanted to. I mean, he's not built like Durant. Durant would break if he got hit. LeBron's a thick dude. And you had his kids out there. If his kids want to play football, go ahead and let them play, I'd say. So I do my kids. They really want to play football. But I guess I can see his point where he doesn't want his kids to get hurt and everything. We got to at least let him try it, I think. Especially young. Now they're probably just getting into tackle out of flag football. But I mean, they're making it safer. Yeah, it's taking time and all that. And they're finding out more and more. But by the time his kids were able to play any high level of football, which who's to say they would either? I mean, I think in a way he's kind of assuming his kids would be great at football, which they probably would be. If they had his work ethic, they could be pretty much good at anything. But even if they happen to be very good at football and got to play college, which means you're very good, it's going to be safer by the time they get there. And if they somehow are good enough to make it to the NFL, it's going to be even safer. Football is getting safer. So I get what he's saying about, I don't want my kids to play because they'll get injured. But in the same breath, you got to realize football is getting safer and safer for guys running at full speed and hitting each other, helmet to helmet. It is getting safer. They're doing the whole flagging when you don't hit them in the right area and all that. But if everybody followed LeBron James' lead, football would be phasing out. Probably within the next 15, 20 years. Because they see it as dangerous. But kids want to play football. Basketball and football. Good luck making a kid play baseball. That's almost torture for a kid nowadays. Got to stand in the outfield and just stand there for an hour and a half. Pick some daisies or something. And playing baseball for a kid is not glorious anymore. And that's why baseball has really become not America's sport anymore. It's become America's pastime. And also why it's being dominated by foreign countries. I mean, you look at Cuba. They're sending people over to play baseball. You can't force a kid that lives here to play baseball and like it. And Cubans, they're risking their life to come play baseball. So baseball isn't too glamorous. I mean, hockey's not too glamorous. I can see that. I can see why LeBron doesn't. As hockey's more dangerous than football, and also basketball is a not even close to the type of physical, I don't know, prowess, I guess. I'm getting hit dangerous level of basketball and football. There's a wide difference. But you can get hurt in basketball too. So if it's to get hurt, yeah, I understand it's a less and less chance, but there's still a chance. They could catch a bad cramp when it's hot in a stadium, right? Yeah. You let them play soccer. Well, that's because soccer you don't get hurt. You just kind of flop. You just kind of fall down. Basketball's turned into that. He could teach them how to flop. But I think you should let his kids play basketball or football. That's what it comes down to. Hockey's pretty dangerous, I guess. If you don't want to play hockey, okay. Plus, hockey is pretty hard to find places to play. But football, they'll at least play football in the backyard with their friends. And there's a chance of them getting hurt there. So you're just putting pads on them, making it a little safer by sending them out there and playing pee-wee or middle school or high school or college or pro or Canadian or league or whatever. But again, who's to say his kids are going to be that good where they're going to get to play? No, you can sit the bench their entire time. You got to let them at least try it. That's how I feel, at least. I mentioned there's one team, the only team that's won in Mexico. It's the Rockets. The Rockets beat the Timberwolves 113-101 last night in Mexico City. The Rockets also won, I believe, last year in Mexico. 2-0 in Mexico, and the only team to win in Mexico. If you're a Rockets fan, you're wondering why they don't just move to Mexico. It'd be really good. They're good in America, though. 7-1, 5-0 on the road. I guess that counts as that was a Timberwolves home game, but not really. It's closer to Houston than Timberwolves in Minnesota. But the Rockets, they're looking quite stellar this year. 7-1, like I mentioned. They're not passing the ball great. They're 19th. They only average about 20 assists a game, 21 if you round. They allow the second least points, something that's very, very surprising from a team that doesn't play defense and is known not to play defense ever. 9th in rebounds and 9th in points. Rebounds is a big thing in defense. Rebounds and defense, if you lead in those, you're gonna be a successful team. And they seem to be doing that. Looking at the box score, James Harden's always got to get his points. He had 23. Dwight Howard had 22. And you got the bench poured in a good, looks like about 35, 40 points. And then you look at the Timberwolves, and they really couldn't get anything going. Corey Brewer put in 18 for him. Other than that, I mean, Kevin Martin put in 12. Wiggins put in 5. It's one of Wiggins' better scoring games. He's averaging 10 points a game. As of right now. Some people expect that to go up. I'm not so confident. Brooklyn was his highest scoring game so far. He put up 17. No, yeah, actually, 17 versus Brooklyn. Not looking rookie of the year good, but it's early. That's something to definitely keep in mind. It is early. And just watch out for that, I suppose. McDermott's averaging 7.7 or 10.7, almost 11 points. Nope, that's per. This is player efficiency rating. Reading the wrong stat. He's only averaging 5 points. That was my choice. So we'll see. It's early, like I mentioned. It all comes down to who can win what. And who can do the best for the team. I mean, the Timberwolves are pretty bad. But now since he's pretty much the sole guy on the team since Rubio's hurt, it's kind of his team now, so we'll see what he can do with him. put up a good fight against the Rockets. Have to give him that. Moving on to Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin was charged with a misdemeanor battery. He apparently slapped a guy, grabbed his shoulder, slapped him in the face because he was taking a camera at a nightclub, which, get there. But, yeah. Misdemeanor could go to jail for 6 months or $1,000 or $1,000 fine. I guess first things first, why is he at a nightclub in Vegas? Yeah, I understand athletes should go have fun too and do what they want. Yeah, but you know what you're getting into. With the way that superstars are followed and everybody has a camera on them and their phone and everybody can tweet a picture of Blake Griffin getting drunk and get 1,000 and ESPN likes it, or just stuff like that. It's not a good look to go out to a nightclub and do something as childish pretty much as what he did. But another thing is, he smacked this man, but if it would have been his wife or anything like that, he'd be suspended right now. It's just something to think about. He would be suspended right now if it was his wife or his girlfriend or anything like that. Just a fact, especially since what the happened in the NFL. I don't see Donald Sterling doing too much. Adam Silver actually doing too much to him right now. But I think if that was his girlfriend or I was a random girl taking a picture of him, it'd be a lot different. He'd probably be looking at a suspension. But we'll see how this plays out. It's early. Happened in October, a month ago. His court will be arranged for December 8th in Vegas. We'll see what happens. I mean, he's going to play till that time. There's going to be no... It's going to blow over. I mean, the team's not thinking about it. He's not going to get suspended. He's going to pay a $1,000 fine. Maybe. He's not going to jail. He's not... I mean, he's not going to get suspended. It's not that big of a deal. If it was his wife, it'd be a big deal. But since it's some random guy taking a picture of him, and it's a misdemeanor, there's nothing that's gonna happen to him. $1,000 fine, maybe. He's not going to jail. He's not gonna get suspended. Nothing big like that. Moving on to the college football. Mariota. He looks good this year. In fact, maybe one of the top picks in the draft. Interesting enough, the Eagles won him with Chip Kelly. Problem is, they'd have to give up a lot for him. And what would they give up for him? I mean, Darren Sproles? Is Darren Sproles really worth a number 1 draft pick? Overall draft pick? Because Mariota could very well go number 1. I don't see Oakland taking him just because Oakland got David Carr. And yeah, David Carr's not doing great. David Carr's still young. They don't have a lot of pieces around them. But that's a possibility. But they're going to have to trade within the top 5. And they're not going to make it within the top 5 right now. I mean, looking at the way the Eagles are playing, they are not going to be in the top 5. Not even top 10. So to get Mariota, they're going to have to trade up. And what will they have to trade? And we see it's a quarterback-friendly system. I mean, the Sanchez did well. Nick Foles looked like a very, very good quarterback. Not elite. Elite quarterback is something that shouldn't be thrown out lightly. But he looked like a good quarterback. But it's a quarterback-friendly system. So to sit there and say, oh, well, Mariota wouldn't do well. Mariota would do phenomenal there. Speed, um, old coach. Mariota would do well there. The thing is, the Eagles have to move up and get him. And will they? Will they give up what a top 5, top 10 team in the draft wants? I don't know. They have a lot of pieces, but if they give up those pieces, will it be enough? Will they still be good? Because Mariota looks like he's an RG3 type player. Maybe not as fragile, but he runs a lot. He'll stay in the pocket a little more when he passes, and his decision making isn't as poor. Look at his interception to touchdown ratio. But in the NFL, he's got to be able to outrun the guys, and he's got to be able to stay healthy to lead his team to victory. And the Eagles have one of the better defenses, sort of, kind of, in the league. I mean, fantasy-wise, they're number one, but that's because of the special teams of Darren Sproles and all of that. But it also makes you wonder what would they have to give up, and if they did give it up, would it be worth it for this guy that you hope stays healthy, but may not stay healthy? Yeah, he would be a great fit there, and it'd be interesting to see. It'd be Chip Kelly bringing college to the pros, which usually doesn't work. Just point that out. If they do make this trade, I would not be surprised if the Eagles miss the playoffs after that. Just because usually when you try to bring college to the pros, it does not work very well. It's worked okay for him now, but he's had NFL quarterbacks there. And he's not doing a triple option scheme and stuff like that, which with Mariota I think he would do. Especially if you got Darren Sproles, Shady McCoy, Jeremy Maclin, just to name a few big names. If he had Deshaun Jackson on the team still, he would definitely be doing some trick stuff if he got Mariota. But we'll have to wait and see till draft time if they do decide to trade up. And I think it's just Oregon coach, Oregon guy, and that everybody's reading into it that way. But maybe there is something there. Maybe there is more than what meets the eye. But I don't think it'd be worth trading up that far for, especially depending on what they'd have to give up for it being a failed plan. Going to the rankings, as I mentioned, the college football playoff rankings were not out when I previously was on. Now they are. Mississippi State 1, 9-0. Oregon 2, 9-1. Florida State 3, 9-0. TCU 4, 8-1. Bama on the outside. Arizona State, Baylor, and Ohio State all with one loss. Marshall's not even on the list, by the way. Marshall didn't crack their top 25, and Marshall's undefeated. Guess strength of schedule really does matter. Oregon jumping Florida State. Tyler would be all in. Oh yeah, that's what they had coming. Florida State has lost past 2 years. I think they're 25 games in a row won. 24, 25, 26, around there. Yeah, you look at strength of schedule. You look at Oregon. But Oregon's lost to an unranked team. Oregon lost to an unranked team. Yeah, they beat 3 ranked teams. One by 12, one by a lot, Utah. Michigan State they beat pretty handedly. 3 ranked teams and lost to an unranked team. Florida State. They beat 3 ranked teams, lost to nobody. They beat 1 ranked team without their quarterback. I don't see how you can get jumped. How an undefeated team can get jumped. Yeah, their rushing yards aren't great. Yeah, their defense isn't the greatest. 33rd in defense, but not the greatest. Oregon lost to an unranked team. Oregon only tops the top 20 twice, passing yards and points for. They cracked the top 15 once in points for, where they're fourth. Does that sound like a top 10 team? Or not top 10, yeah, that sounds like a good team. But does that sound like a team that should jump an undefeated team? Florida State should be 2. Whether you like Jameis Winston, whether you think the strength of schedule really matters, they've both beaten 3 ranked teams. The difference is one has not lost to anybody, and one has lost to an unranked Arizona. I believe Arizona is ranked now. Ranked 14th now with 2 losses. They lost to an unranked team. Yet they jump a team that hasn't lost a game. It should be 1 Mississippi State, 2 Florida State, 3 Oregon, 4 TCU. I agree with the TCU. I think the TCU is a great move by them. TCU has played a heck of a schedule in beating Oklahoma, losing to Baylor by 3. They beat Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Kansas State, all ranked. And Kansas State, the highest ranked team recently. They beat number 4 Oklahoma, who isn't even ranked now. They lost to Baylor, who's catching up to them. They only lost by 3. They crushed Oklahoma State 42-9. They were 15th. They led a remarkable comeback versus West Virginia. They won by 1 game-winning field goal. And then they destroyed Kansas State 41-20. When it's all said and done, Alabama will most likely be in it. This week really determines it. Alabama plays number 1 Mississippi State. That determines if Alabama makes it in or not. And if Alabama wins this, it makes it interesting. Because people are going to want TCU to drop. People are going to want Florida State to drop. If Florida State wins out, they are going to be in the tournament. They're the championship, I guess. Playoffs. Florida State wins out, they're in the playoffs. I don't care who won what, who won this game, who won that game. Florida State will be in the playoffs if they win out, which they should. They're only a point favorite over Florida, Miami. Maybe because it's at Miami. That's all I can see. Because Miami's not a 6-3. They're okay. Alabama has Mississippi State left. Say they win out. They beat Mississippi State, some no-name team, and then Auburn. Okay, they're in. Mississippi State loses. Let's say Mississippi State loses 1. So they beat number 10 Ole Miss after this. Yeah, they'll probably kick out TCU. But you also see Ohio State. Ohio State has put in a decent effort towards this. They beat Michigan State. They're playing Minnesota. They've only lost 1. A 2-loss team isn't getting in. If Alabama loses, they're out. Mississippi State loses, it's going to be close for them. Oregon should win out. Oregon should be in. Florida State will win out. They will be in. TCU should win out, and I think they should be in the way, the strength of schedule and everything. TCU should be in if they win out. Then you got to put an SEC team in because that's what you got to do. But SEC can totally miss it. The SEC could totally miss the playoffs, and everybody would be up in arms over it. Mississippi State could lose to Alabama and lose to Ole Miss. They're both away. Then you go, well, Alabama's there. Alabama could lose to Auburn, and that would be 2 losses. So you're going to put a 2-loss team over 1-loss team. TCU, one-loss team Baylor, one-loss team Arizona State, Ohio State, Florida State, who doesn't have a loss. The SEC could totally whiff. That would be great because everybody, you got to have two SEC teams in. If the SEC totally whiffed, people would still watch the college playoffs. People would be up in arms. Oh, Alabama played tough teams. Alabama beat good teams. They beat the number one Mississippi State. Yeah, who then went and what? Who then went and lost to Ole Miss? You can't put a two-loss team in with the way this is set up. So either Alabama either loses this weekend and they're out, and the Mississippi State, it's probably final. Mississippi State, Florida State, Oregon, TCU. If Alabama loses and everything goes according to everybody else's plan. Even if Mississippi State loses to Ole Miss, I think they make it in over Arizona State, Baylor, Ohio State. But the SEC could totally whiff. They could come out of this with nobody in it. Because then there's a conference championship. You got to remember that. So say it's Ole Miss and Alabama left. Say Alabama loses and then beats Auburn, and Mississippi State loses to Ole Miss and they're at 9-1. There's still an SEC West championship. If Alabama won that, they're 8-2, and Mississippi State drops to whatever. They both have 2 losses. They could both end up with 2 losses because of the way that the SEC is lined up. And a 2-loss SEC team, no matter who they play, no matter their strength of schedule, should not, and I can't say will not because the committee has shown they don't know exactly what to do, but they should not get in if you have 2 losses and there are 1-loss teams above you that have tough schedules. I mean, Baylor hasn't played a cakewalk. West Virginia is their 1 loss. They beat TCU, who was ranked 9. West Virginia is now ranked. They beat Oklahoma, who was ranked early in the season much higher than 15th. Oklahoma State, they're going to play now, who was ranked. And then they finish off with Kansas State. Not a cakewalk. Arizona State. Arizona State, wouldn't be surprised if they got in. If both SEC teams lose, Arizona State's in. I mean, they beat Utah. They beat Notre Dame. They beat Stanford, who when was ranked. They beat USC when they were ranked. They beat UCLA when they were ranked. They finished off with Arizona. If Arizona State finishes with 1 loss, I wouldn't be surprised if they got in. I mean, you look at it. Florida State, Oregon, TCU, Arizona State is a feasible outcome in this playoff. Because Mississippi State could lose this weekend, and Alabama could win, and then Alabama loses to Auburn. That's 2 losses, and Mississippi State has 1. Then they see Alabama back in the championship, and they lose again. That's 2 losses for Mississippi State. Yeah, I'm saying, oh, well, the SEC could do that, but Oregon could too. Yeah, but Oregon doesn't have a conference championship, and Oregon's playing a bunch of nobodies. Oregon's got to play Colorado and Oregon State. Florida State plays Miami, Boston College, and Florida. Both Boston College and Florida have pulled some upsets, but they shouldn't lose any of that. TCU plays Texas and Iowa State. They have easy schedules. Those 3 are in. It's the 4th seed that's got to be determined, or the 4th team could be the 1st seed. Got to be determined. And looking at this week, looking at the games there's some big ones. Mississippi State, number 1, travels to Alabama. That's a big game. That determines a lot. Florida State travels to Miami. I don't think Miami's got a shot, but apparently the line's 2.5. Florida State wins by touchdown, at least. Auburn travels to number 15 Georgia. I guess there's a shot that Auburn could drop even further. Or they could try to climb up, but Auburn's pretty much out of it with 2 losses, 7-2. They could just play spoiler on Bama now. Ohio State's trying to continue their bid for the playoffs, which is a slim, but it's still there. Playing number 25 Minnesota on the road. They hope to get a victory there. Michigan State's playing Maryland. They're pretty much out of it at this point. The 2 running backs. The battle of the running backs with Nebraska and Wisconsin. Best 2 running backs in the league in Abdullah and Gordon. Abdullah was hurt. Hopefully he can be back for this game. He's probable. But it's the battle of the running backs. But I think Gordon's the guy. And Gordon's the Heisman candidate for running back. If Abdullah didn't get hurt, I would have said him, but I think Gordon's the guy. But that'll be a fun one to watch because it'll be a ground and pound game. Number 19 Clemson traveling to 22 Georgia Tech. Texas A&M is ranked again. But the big game, Mississippi State, Alabama. Ohio State, Minnesota, Big game, 3:30, Mississippi State, Alabama. This game really determines who makes it into the playoffs. Especially if Alabama loses. If Alabama loses, Mississippi State most likely is making it in. Because they should be Ole Miss. Even though it's at Ole Miss, they should be Ole Miss. If Alabama wins, both teams are 9-1, and both teams could lose again. But it's a very big game for both teams. Moving on to the NFL. Go with my pick'ems. Running out of time here. So we'll go with the pick'ems. Tonight, Bills at Dolphins. The Bills have been hot, but so have the Dolphins. The Dolphins' defense has been quite good. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I like the defense. I like the way they've been playing. Lamar Miller's back. Tannehill's been having a pretty good season as of late. Fred Jackson's injured, so we'll see. But I think that the Dolphins pull this one out at home. Bears at Vikings at Bears. Bears have been awful. The Vikings have just been a little better at 4-5, where the Bears are 3-6. But I think the Bears can win this. I think they should win this at home versus the Vikings. Yeah, it's a conference game, but you got a loaded lineup in Forte, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, and Jay Cutler. The defense has to step up, but I think the Bears go ahead and take this one. Kind of bounce back from the shellacking they got from Green Bay. Texans at Browns was a tough one for me. Thought about this one long and hard, but I'm going to have to go Browns. The way they came off of that game last week versus Cincinnati, they look phenomenal. They're 6-3, 4-1 at home. Texans are only 2-3 on the road. It's going to be tough for the Texans to get a win out of this one, especially with Fitzpatrick at quarterback. So I'm going Browns. Seahawks travel to the Chiefs, both 6-3. The Chiefs are quiet 6-3. You don't hear a whole lot about them. Nobody's really talking about the Chiefs doing anything stellar. And everybody's talking about the demise of the Seahawks. But I'm going with the Seahawks. Marshawn Lynch just came off of a huge game. 4 touchdowns. I know the Chiefs are 3-1 at home. But for some reason, my gut's telling me to go with the Seahawks. So I'm going to follow that gut feeling and go with the Seahawks. Falcons go to the Panthers, both 3-6. Even though Panthers just got destroyed on national television, I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with the Panthers over the Falcons. Falcons haven't shown me a whole lot. They beat the Bucks last week by 10. Falcons haven't shown me a whole lot. Their defense isn't there. Neither are the Panthers, though. But I like the Cam Newton to Kelvin Benjamin hookups. I think that can get them a victory. Bengals travel to the Saints. I mean, the Saints lost in overtime, but they're looking much, much better. The Bengals lost awfully. They lost bad. To the Browns on Thursday. It's been a long week for them. They've had a longer week. But I'm going to take New Orleans at home with Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham. The 1-8 Bucks travel to 3-6 Redskins. RG3 is playing, and well, RG3 is playing. I got them winning. A closer one than you'd guess, than you'd expect. But I think RG3 can have a pretty good day, especially with a poor offense of the Bucks. I think he's going to have a great running day and maybe throw a touchdown or two, taking the Redskins. Broncos travel to the Rams. Rams have been playing spoiler this year. I believe they changed their quarterback. It's a big deal. But doesn't matter. The Broncos are almost unstoppable this year. They're 7-2. Yeah, they've lost a couple. But the Broncos aren't going to lose to the Rams. So I'm taking Broncos. 49ers at Giants was a big one for me as well. You're like, oh, 49ers, they're the better team. Yeah, but the Giants at home coming off of that and getting their running back. I lean towards them, but I got to take the 49ers. Coming off of a victory at the Saints on a game where they really shouldn't have won. They just got lucky at the end. But the defense is getting there. They got Alden Smith back, but then they lost. They lost another big guy in their defensive squad. But Kaepernick, he's been okay. Frank Gore has really been rushing well. And versus the Giants defense, I think Frank Gore is going to have a big day and get them to win. Raiders at Chargers. The Raiders haven't won a game, so it's hard to pick for them, especially with Phillip Rivers still having a pretty good year, even though recently he hasn't been doing great. Eagles at Packers. That's another tough one. It was a tough week for picks. But I'm going Packers at home off of that win versus the Bears division foe. They're 6-3. Eagles are 7-2. But the Packers haven't lost at home yet. So I'm going with the hot home team. I think Eddie Lacy's going to have a pretty good day. Aaron Rodgers will have an all-right day, but I think Eddie Lacy is really the one that comes out of this the winner in the Packers' victory over the Eagles. I think the Sanchez doesn't get another win for the Eagles this week. Lions at Cardinals, that was a tough one for me as well. They changed their quarterback in the Cardinals because Palmer's out for the season. And solely on that reason, I know the defense of the Cardinals is great. But I'm taking the Lions with Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate. Joique Bell, Matt Staff. I'm going with the Lions. They just seem to narrowly win some football games. The Cardinals, yeah, Stan's played some games for them, but all in all, I'm going to go with the Lions and the familiar quarterback over the Cardinals, even though it's at the Cardinals' place. Patriots at Colts. I'm going Patriots. They're the better football team. They've been on fire recently. The Colts and Patriots both have a remarkable quarterback at the helm. But I think the Patriots have a little better defense and a better offensive line, and that's really going to determine the game, defense and offensive line, and that's why the Colts lose. Steelers at Titans. I'm breaking my rule. I'm going to go with the Steelers. The Titans look awful. The Steelers coming off of a horrible win or horrible loss versus the Jets. I can't see them winning another awful game like that or losing another awful game like that. So therefore, I'm going to take the Steelers. Yeah, I broke my rule. But that's all I got. Until next time, you're listening to WODU, the best in college radio. I'm Alex, and this was Cup Check. Have a good weekend. Watch some sports. College basketball starting. Go watch some.